Everyone inside the San Francisco courthouse thought they were about to witness a train wreck. Elon Musk, one of the richest men in the world, had just walked into a high-stakes patent trial without a single lawyer at his side. The judge raised an eyebrow. The opposing attorney smirked. Even the gallery couldn't hold back laughter. After all, who walks into federal court against an army of corporate lawyers and thinks they can defend themselves alone? From the bench, Judge Beatrice Thrnwald let out a quiet chuckle. In over 30 years, she'd seen celebrities, billionaires, and even crooked politicians stand before her. Courtroom, but never someone this reckless. Musk shuffled through a pile of wrinkled papers, dropping pages on the floor while the crowd snickered. To everyone watching, it looked like the eccentric billionaire was about to embarrass himself on a global stage. But what no one realized was this. Behind Musk's messy performance, his fumbling hands and awkward pauses, he was playing a much deeper game. What looked like weakness was actually a carefully set trap that would stun everyone, especially the very judge now laughing at him. And the story of how Musk got here starts not in the courtroom, but 6 months earlier, in a lab where a piece of technology was created that could change the world. 6 months before the trial, deep inside Musk Innovations, the atmosphere buzzed like electricity. Elon Musk and his lead engineer, Lila Chun, stood over a small device no larger than a shoebox. To anyone else, it might have looked like an ordinary metal case, with a few wires sticking out. But to them, it was the future. When Lila tapped her tablet, the edges of the device pulsed with a soft blue glow. Output is holding at 98% efficiency, she whispered, eyes wide. Musk leaned closer, his voice low but charged. That's nearly 3 times better than anything on the market. This could power a home for a month or send a car 1,000 miles on a single charge. They had just built the energy breakthrough every major tech company in the world had been chasing. But instead of celebrations, their excitement was cut short by a message that flashed across Musk's phone. Victor Hammond was here. Hammond, the polished, too-slick-to-trust CEO of Magnatech Industries. Outwardly, he came with friendly intentions, smiling for the cameras and insisting he wanted a partnership. But in reality, Hammond had a reputation. Competitors whispered he didn't build, he stole. And the way his assistants trailed just a little too close, snapping photos when they thought no one was watching, confirmed those fears. Musk showed Hammond around the facility politely, but kept him far from the most sensitive research. Still, Hammond's sharp eyes darted toward every restricted door and every locked cabinet. It wasn't partnership he wanted, it was access. When Hammond left, Musk reviewed the security footage. There it was, his assistant, sneaking photos of restricted areas, and Hammond himself pressing against a window of a lock lab as if trying to memorize every detail. 2 weeks later, Musk's worst suspicion came true. Hammond's lawyers filed a patent, claim for the exact same design Musk's team had developed. They stole it. Lila burst out, slamming the documents onto Musk's desk. They stole everything. But instead of outrage, Musk remained eerily calm. I knew the moment Hammond went silent about a partnership. He never wanted collaboration. He wanted a shortcut. Lila shook her head. So let's unleash the lawyers, right? We have to fight this. Musk simply replied, I already spoke to them. They say it'll be hard to prove. Then what are we supposed to do? She demanded. Musk's eyes lit up with a strange determination. We don't fight this case the usual way. We outthink it. I'll handle it myself. Lila froze. In court? Without attorneys? That's insane. But Musk's answer sent a chill down her spine. Sometimes, he said quietly, the only winning move is to do what no one expects. She stared at the stacks of patent law books piling up on his desk, realizing this wasn't ego. Musk had a plan, a dangerous one. And if it failed, it wouldn't just cost them the case. It could destroy their future. Little did she know, that was exactly the risk he had already prepared to take. When the trial finally began, the contrast couldn't have been sharper. On one side of the room sat Magnatech's army of lawyers, polished and confident. There, binders stacked neatly like weapons ready for battle. On the other side, Elon Musk, alone, no legal team, just a handful of crumpled papers stuffed inside his jacket. Even the journalists in the gallery were whispering that this was career suicide. Judge Thrnwald, who had already decided Musk was being arrogant, let him have it. Mr. Musk, do you even know how court procedure works? She snapped as he fumbled. With loose pages. I think so, Your Honor, Musk replied, sounding unsure. Laughter bubbled in the gallery. Someone coughed to hide a chuckle. Even the stern bailiff cracked a smile. Opposing counsel, Dominic Reeves, smirked openly already, tasting victory. Reeves opened with a perfectly polished presentation. Diagrams shine on the screen. Evidence boxes were wheeled in like a parade of proof, and experts testified with calm authority. Magnateka's case looked airtight. They filed their patent first. Their prototype was on display, and their lead researcher laid out technical details that left even the judge impressed. Meanwhile, Musk sat scribbling in a notebook, barely objecting. At one point, Judge Thrnwald caught him staring absent-mindedly at the ceiling instead of listening. Mr. Musk, are you even paying attention? She asked sharply. Yes, Your Honor. More than you might think, he said softly. Her irritation only grew. To her, he looked like a bored student in a classroom he didn't belong in. By the end of day one, Musk had managed only a few clumsy objections, all of which the judge swatted down like flies. His attempts at questioning witnesses ended with him being corrected by the very people he was supposed to be challenging. Reeves, sensing the easy win, leaned over his client, Victor Hammond, and whispered, "He doesn't stand a chance." Hammond smirked, arrogance radiating from every pore. As court adjourned for the day, the reporters pounced. Cameras flashed and microphones lined the courthouse steps. "Mr. Musk, will you finally hire an attorney?" one shouted. "Do you admit the case is over?" Another pressed. Musk just pushed through them silently, his expression unreadable. Lila grabbed his arm. Nearby, her voice urgent. "Elon, this is a disaster. He lied under oath about your meeting and that prototype they showed. It's ours with a different casing." Musk didn't flinch. He simply looked back at the courthouse, then whispered 4 words. That sent a chill through Lila. "I'm about to." The next morning, when the judge entered the chamber expecting more chaos from Musk, she had no idea he wasn't just fumbling anymore. He was loading the first move of a trap that would flip the entire case upside down. The next morning, the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. The media had already written their headlines. Elon Musk crashes and burns in court. Even Judge Thrnwald had quietly resigned herself to presiding over what she thought was little more than a legal formality. Then Musk did something that threw everyone off guard. When the judge asked if he was ready to present his defense, Musk simply said, "Your Honor, I'd like to request a 1-day recess." Gasps rippled through the room. A recess? Was he admitting defeat? Even Dominic Reeves couldn't resist a smug grin. "He's giving up," one reporter whispered into her phone, already live tweeting the collapse. But what looked like retreat was actually careful misdirection. Back at a small rented office across from the courthouse, Musk and Lila weren't licking their wounds. They were preparing for war. Musk had spent the night combing through hours of security footage, and there it was, clear as day, Hammond's assistant, snapping photos, Hammond himself peering into restricted lab windows he'd been told were off limits. Proof they were spying, Lila said, eyes wide. But Musk shook his head. Not enough to crush him. We need more. That's when the knock came at their door. A woman entered quietly, nerves flickering, behind her determined eyes. Her name was Billionaire, until a week ago, Magnateka's own head of research and development. "I'm risking everything being here," she whispered. "I know," Musk said, "but you're doing the right thing." For the next hour, she told them everything. Hammond's secret meeting after visiting Musk's facility, the order to steal the design before Musk can patent it, the sudden promotion of a more compliant scientist when she refused, and emails damning. Emails That proved Magnatech's entire case was built on stolen engineering. Lila was floored. This will destroy them. But why now? Priya glanced at Musk's electronic demo device glowing faintly on the desk. Because yesterday, when I saw Hammond on that witness stand lying through his teeth, I couldn't stomach it anymore. Musk simply nodded. Tomorrow the game changes. And as dawn crept across San Francisco, while Magnatech's lawyers drank whiskey over their inevitable victory, Musk was putting the final touches on his most dangerous move yet. The world thought he was delaying to hire real lawyers. But in reality, Musk had just loaded his most devastating weapon, the witness. Hammond never saw coming. When court resumed, everyone expected Elon Musk to finally back down, maybe even hire a lawyer at the last minute. Instead, he stood tall, voice steady. "Your Honor, I'd like to call a surprise witness." The courtroom froze. Surprise witness? In federal court? Even Judge Thrnwald frowned. "Mr. Musk, this isn't television. We don't just drop in last-minute witnesses." Musk didn't flinch. "These are special circumstances." The witness only came forward yesterday after hearing Magnatech's testimony. That name hit the room like a lightning strike. Hammond's face drained of color. And Reeves, the polished attorney who'd been smirking all week, suddenly looked rattled. "Objection!" Reeves barked. "This witness is bound by confidentiality agreements. She cannot be allowed to testify." Musk calmly held up a folder. "There are exceptions for illegal activity, and that is exactly what she's here to expose." Judge Thrnwald's eyes narrowed, but curiosity got the better of her. "I'll allow it. Call your witness, Mr. Musk." The doors opened, and Priya Nair walked nervously to the stand. The gallery erupted in whispers. Magnatech's former head of research and development was about to testify against her own company. After swearing in, Musk approached her gently. "Ms. Nair, until recently, what was your position at Magnatech?" "I was head of R&D. "For 8 years," she said firmly. "And why did you resign?" Musk asked. Priya took a breath. "Because what I was asked to do wasn't innovation. It was theft. After Mr. Hammond visited your facility, he called an emergency meeting. He showed us photos secretly taken during that tour. His exact words were, 'I want this technology,' before Musk can patent it." The room exploded. Reporters scribbled furiously. Cameras clicked and Hammond shot, up red-faced. "That's a lie," he roared. The judge slammed her gavel. "One more outburst, and you'll be removed from this courtroom, Mr. Hammond." But Priya wasn't done. She handed over notes, emails, and text messages. Damning. Evidence that proved Hammond's team had reverse-engineered Musk's designs. And Musk wasn't done either. He placed a small device on the evidence table. With a click, it projected a holographic, side by side of Magnatech's prototype and his own original design. Layer by layer, component by component, they matched perfectly. The odds of two independent teams creating these identical structures are essentially zero, Musk explained calmly. The projection hung in the air like a digital confession. Nobody could deny it. The courtroom was silent. Even Judge Thrnwald, who only yesterday had laughed at Musk's awkward fumbling, found herself leaning forward, heart pounding. For the first time since the trial began, the tide had turned. Musk wasn't just holding his ground, he was crushing them. And what came next would take things from shocking to devastating. By the time Priya stepped down from the witness stand, the entire courtroom had flipped upside down. What started as a massacre for Musk now looked like the slow collapse of Magnatech. But Elon wasn't done. He rose from his seat, paper notes neatly stacked. Gone was a fumbling billionaire, who dropped pages on the floor. His voice was sharp, deliberate. "Your Honor, based on the evidence presented, I don't just ask that Magnatech's patent be invalidated. I request a remedy under Section 47B of the Technological Innovation Protection Act of 2018. The gallery blinked in confusion. Even Judge Thrnwald tilted her head slightly. "I'm familiar with patent law, Mr. Musk, but I don't recall that section." Musk slid a printed statute to the clerk, who handed it to the bench. It's obscure, rarely invoked, but it's very real and very clear. The judge scanned the page. Her eyebrows shot upward. The room held its breath. It states, Musk continued, his voice calm but cold, that in cases where corporate espionage is proven, the court may prohibit the guilty party from developing similar technology for 5 years. The words landed like a grenade. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even Reeves, who had handled billion-dollar lawsuits without breaking a sweat, stumbled for the first time. Your Honor, this is outrageous. He barked, his voice cracking. Such a ruling would cripple our entire energy division. That's the point, Musk replied coolly. The law was never meant for show. It was written to create real consequences. Without it, companies would just treat theft as the cost of doing business. Reporters scribbled frantically, already imagining the headlines. Musk used his secret law to trap Magnatech. Judge Thrnwald leaned back, speechless for once. In 30 years on the bench, she'd rarely seen such bold legal maneuvering, and certainly not from someone with zero training. Yet here was Musk, lecturing a room full of lawyers on a statute none of them had cared to research. The judge glanced down at her copy of the act again. The language was airtight. The ban was possible. And to everyone's shock, Musk had just triggered it. Reeves scrambled for footing. We'll need time to review this, Your Honor. Surely. Tomorrow morning, the judge cut him off. I will hear closing arguments and consider this motion. Court is adjourned until then. The gavel cracked. On his way out, Reeves leaned toward Hammond, his voice low, almost desperate. He outplayed us at every step. I've never seen anything like it. And for the first time, Hammond, once the arrogant CEO who thought he'd steal history's most important battery design, looked genuinely afraid. What had once been a simple patent trial was now a corporate death sentence. And Musk wasn't even finished yet. By now, the once untouchable Magnatech team was bleeding confidence. But Reeves tried one last desperate move. Your Honor, he announced, we called Dr. Marcus Whitfield, technical expert. A tall man in glasses approached the stand, diagrams in hand. Calm, professional. Exactly what Magnatech needed to steady the ship. He explained that while Musk's and Magnatech's batteries looked similar, there were distinct engineering differences. The cooling system, the casing material, tweaks that, in his words, made independent. Development entirely possible. For the first time all week, Reeves allowed himself to breathe. Maybe, just maybe, this would cast enough doubt. Then Musk stood up to cross-examine. He didn't attack. He didn't interrupt. Instead, he asked simple, surgical questions. Dr. Whitfield, what's the central innovation that makes both designs efficient? The nano-coating, the expert admitted, and both companies use the exact same layering sequence, down to the proprietary. Materials correct. Well, yes, Whitfield admitted, shifting uneasily. Step by step, Musk dismantled the testimony, showing the differences were nothing but cosmetic. Finally, he asked, be honest, doctor. Isn't it true that the fundamental innovation, the nano-coating, is identical in both designs? After a long pause, Whitfield sighed. Yes. The gallery erupted. Hammond's jaw tensed, fury flashing in his eyes. His own expert had just confirmed the theft. But Musk saved the coup de grace for Hammond himself. The CEO strutted to the stand, adjusting his tie, still trying to project confidence. His answers were rehearsed. No theft, no photos, just coincidence. Musk waited. Then, quietly, Mr. Hammond, did you or your team take any photos during your visit to my facility? No, Hammond said firmly. And yet, Musk turned to the screen and played footage of Hammond's assistant, snapping pictures in restricted labs. Hammond watching right beside her. The color drained from Hammond's face. I didn't authorize. Musk cut him off. Really? Because the very next day, this appeared in your personal notebook. He held up a small, leather-bound journal. Hammond froze. Where did you get that? He demanded. Recovered after a water leak in your office. Musk replied smoothly. Would you please? Read the entry dated the day after your tour. Hammond hesitated, lips tight. Musk glanced at the judge. If he won't, I will. He opened the notebook and read aloud. Saw Musk's new battery tech today. Revolutionary nano coating. Need to fast-track our version before he patents it. Assign Priya's team to reverse engineer ASAP. The chamber exploded in chaos. Reporters nearly leapt from their seats. Hammond slumped back, pale as paper, his empire crumbling in real time. Judge Thrnwald banged her gavel for order, but even she looked shaken. She had seen fraud cases before, but never such blatant proof. In the culprit's own handwriting. In that moment, the trial was over. Everyone in the room knew it. Hammond had gone, from shark to cornered prey, and Musk had just delivered the finishing blow. And now, all that was left was a verdict. The courtroom was electric. Every reporter's pen scraped wildly across notebooks. Every phone buzzed with breaking news alerts. Elon Musk, the man the world thought was making a fool of himself, had just exposed a billion-dollar empire in its own handwriting. Now, it was time for the verdict. Judge Thrnwald adjusted her glasses, her tone grave. This court has carefully considered all evidence presented. The testimony of Ms. Nair, corroborated by internal communications and Mr. Hammond's own notes, provides clear proof of corporate espionage. A gasp rose from the gallery. Hammond shut his eyes, as though bracing for an execution. Therefore, the judge continued, her voice echoing through the chamber. Magnatech patent number 108726 is invalidated effective immediately. The journalist erupted in whispers, but then she raised her hand and added words no one expected. Furthermore, pursuant to Section 47B of the Technological Innovation Protection Act, Magnatech Industries is hereby prohibited from developing or marketing similar energy storage technology for a period of 5 years. Now the room erupted. Gasps, shouts, flashes of cameras. The damage wasn't just a loss. It was total annihilation. Hammond's proud empire had just been locked out of the future of energy, but the hammer kept falling. This court additionally awards $20 million in damages to Musk Innovations, Judge Thrnwald declared, and refers this matter to the U.S. Attorney's Office for review of potential criminal charges related to industrial espionage and possible perjury. Someone in the gallery actually clapped before being shushed. Hammond sat frozen, his career finished in one sentence. And then came the twist no one expected. The judge turned directly to Musk, her voice steady but softer than before. When this trial began, I dismissed you as arrogant. I even mocked you openly for representing yourself. That was unprofessional. The truth is, you presented your case more thoroughly than most lawyers I've ever seen. Mr. Musk, this court was wrong. About you. Musk gave a small nod of acknowledgement. He hadn't smiled through humiliation, and he didn't smile through triumph. He simply accepted the words, as if victory was always the only possible outcome. The gavel slammed. Court is adjourned. The room erupted like a thunderclap. Reporters flooded the aisles, shouting over each other. Elon was a fumbling on day one act. Will you press charges against Hammond personally? Do you feel this was your greatest victory? Musk raised his hands for silence. I didn't come here for revenge. I came for justice. The ruling speaks for itself. And with that, he walked out, Lila at his side, while Hammond collapsed into his lawyers. Chair like a man carrying the weight of every mistake he'd ever made. For Musk, this wasn't just a win. It was a warning fired across the entire tech industry. From this day forward, any company thinking about stealing innovation would remember what happened in this courtroom and think twice. For most people, the story ended with a verdict. A billionaire had stunned the world by out-lawyering an entire corporate army. A rival empire had crumbled. It was already being called the trial of the decade. But for Elon Musk, the case wasn't just about winning in court. It was about building something bigger. 2 months later, a sleek black car pulled up to the gates of Musk Innovations headquarters. Stepping out was someone unexpected, Judge Beatrice Thrnwald. Or, rather, former Judge Thrnwald. She had retired just weeks after the Magnatech trial, trading in her black robes after 30 years of ruling from the bench. Inside the bright halls of Musk's research facility, she was greeted warmly by Lila Chun, the engineer who had stood by Musk throughout the war. "Judge Thrnwald," Lila said, with a smile. "Please," she corrected, "call me Beatrice. I'm not on the bench anymore." Elon Musk met them at the lab entrance, dressed simply as always, no sign of courtroom drama about him now. "Beatrice," he said, "welcome. Let me show you what we've really been working on." What followed was a tour unlike anything she had seen. State-of-the-art labs, futuristic. Prototypes, the beating heart of innovations now safe from Magnatech's theft. For the first time in decades, Beatrice felt she wasn't just looking at problems to judge, she was staring straight at the future. Finally, in a quiet conference room overlooking the mountains, Musk revealed why he had invited her. "There's a reason I wanted you here today," he said carefully. Beatrice narrowed her eyes. "Let me guess, not just to show me around." Musk nodded. "During the trial, did you ever wonder why I insisted on defending myself? Why I wanted you as my judge?" She frowned. "What are you getting at?" "Because I knew who you were," Musk said. "Not just a judge, but Beatrice Thrnwald of MIT. In the 1980s, you created a revolutionary battery design, one that was stolen by Vertex Tech before you could patent it. That theft drove you to law school, didn't it?" Her coffee cup trembled slightly as she set it down. "How could you possibly know that? I make it my mission to know the history of innovation," Musk replied simply. "What Hammond did to me, someone once did to you. That's why I trusted you would. Recognize theft when it stood right in front of you." For a long moment, silence filled the room. Finally, Beatrice let out a dry laugh. "So even you're fumbling on the first day with strategy." "Not entirely," Musk admitted. "I was nervous. But yes, part of it was about being underestimated, including by you." Instead of being offended, she laughed again, shaking her head. "Brilliantly played." Then Musk slid a folder across the table. "This isn't about revenge, Beatrice. It's about the future. I want you to join us, not as a lawyer, not as a judge, but as a partner. Someone who understands both technology and law, who can make sure what happened to you and nearly happened to us never happens again." For a moment she stared at the offer, weighing the symbolism. She had spent decades punishing those who broke rules. Now she had the chance to help protect the very innovators she once wished someone had protected her. Finally, she stood, removed the judge's robe she had brought in a garment bag, and draped it over the chair, leaving her old role behind. She extended her hand. "Well, then let's build something worth protecting." Musk shook her hand, his eyes glinting with quiet satisfaction. "Welcome to the team." Across town, Victor Hammond sat in an empty office, boxing up the last of his things. His resignation had been forced, his company's energy division shattered and looming. Criminal charges meant his future was gone. He had thought himself clever, stealing someone else's work. But now he realized the truth. Real innovation can't be stolen. It has to be earned. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button for more interesting videos.